Hi everybody, welcome back and thanks for tuning in. We're going to try to save another old tractor from the grave here. This is my new project, 1955 Fordson Major Diesel. The tractor is not in very good condition, and you might be wondering, why in the world did I buy this thing? Well, simple answer is I wanted it. You guys know me, I'm a big Fordson fan. So whenever I see a Fordson up for sale locally, I'm definitely going to at least check it out. Now these tractors are semi-rare over here in the USA, or at least in my part of the country they are. But my friend Howard over across the pond says that they're commonplace over there, which makes sense because that's where they were manufactured. He even offered to help me source parts and manuals if I needed it, and I appreciate that, Howard. I might actually take you up on that. Howard also has a YouTube channel. It's called Wheels of Interest. And he's an experienced mechanic, fabricator, so please check out his YouTube channel when you have time. One thing I can say right off the bat is it seems to be pretty complete. It's even got this little tail light, big old heavy drawbar apparatus, and the larger style PTO. It's got the fenders. That's good that it still has them. One thing about the tractor is the wheels are all in pretty good condition. Three of the tires are actually decent and hold air, but the left rear is terribly cracked and it goes completely dead flat in about 24 hours. Right before I started this video, I inflated that rear left tire and put a whole can of that Fix-A-Flat junk in there. So we'll see if maybe we get lucky and it holds air. We still got the emblem here, but looks like it's pressed in a little bit, but at least it's still there. But the sheet metal is straight. The latches all work. We've got both emblems still present as well. And yes, this is a diesel. It's my first one, so this is going to be a bit of a learning curve, but I think we're up for the challenge. Again, the wheels, pretty good. Front tires took air and are holding air. This rear left one is the only one in question. You can see how badly cracked it is. This, you can get your finger underneath that one. Because these are all like turf tires and they don't have the typical larger tread tractor type tires, this may have been used in an orchard or on a golf course or maybe even on cement, who knows, something like that. The gauges are just a complete disaster. We don't have a key switch and the switch is frozen and rusted anyway. I think this was the horn button. I still haven't found where the horn is or was. The shifter does shifter things. This tractor came from the factory with a built-in high-low for the gears, and this is the lever right here. Although the lever is loose on the post over there, so the lever is not doing anything. It's just twisting on the post. So I think it's in low range right now, but I don't know. This is the throttle here. This is the starter engage. That's clutch, of course, and your two brake pedals over there. The brakes work and the parking brake works because the previous owner showed me that. This is the on-off valve for the fuel tank, and previous owner said the old fuel pump stopped working here, probably just dried out. So as a temporary fix, he put an electric fuel pump on here, and believe it or not, this nonsense here is still conducting electricity because the fuel pump is working. So I'm not going to touch that for the time being. We're going to see if we can get this thing started, and you know, we'll probably have to redo all the wiring because it's a complete disaster. Let's open the hood here. The previous owner said this is a 1955, and I haven't yet found the serial number tag, so we're just going with that for the time being. If I happen to notice it, I'll show you guys. This is a diesel fuel filter here. This is the fuel injector pump, and it's a little bit curious that it's all nice and clean. It's got 4 plungers in here, I guess you'd call them, or pistons or whatever, in here that go up and down and push fuel up into the cylinders through these lines right here. It looks like maybe this thing has been rebuilt sometime in the recent past. I mean, you know, within maybe the last 20 years or so, because it's so clean. It looks like it is made out of aluminum because I can't get a magnet to stick to it. So that would also account for the lack of rust and corrosion. But still, it looks like somebody's worked on this in the recent past. So hopefully we don't have to worry about this. Hopefully we got a good unit there. This is an overhead valve tractor, and let's see if we can get a look down inside there. Oh wow, it actually looks nice and clean down in there. I don't know if I can get that on camera for you. A little bit. Well, that's not what I was expecting, so that's good news. While we're thinking about it, let's check the engine oil. Well, that's some pretty good looking oil. Did we finally get a tractor with a good engine? It's almost even up to the full mark. That's good news too. Let's go back around. This is the upper radiator hose. This is the lower radiator hose. Somebody just got a universal flexi type hose and made that work. I checked the coolant earlier. Let's check it again. Yeah, there's definitely liquid in there. Needs to be changed though. So yes, it's dirty, but that's actually good news that the system is full and it's not leaking anywhere. It's completely dry under. As far as that goes, it's completely dry under the engine too. There's no oil leaks from the engine. I haven't noticed if there's any leaks in the rear, but in the front seems to be completely dry up here. Looks like we've got a 2-blade fan on here. I wonder if that was factory stock or what. Seems like you'd have a 4-blade on there, but what do I know? These belts are very crispy. They're not going to last much longer. I guess there's just one belt, so we'll switch that out. This here is a compression release valve for the engine. It's disengaged right now, so to engage the compression relief, you pull this lever up. If I understand this correctly, it pushes the valves open just a smidge in order for the operator to spin the motor with the hand crank up front, not for the purpose of trying to start the engine, but just to kind of break the engine loose from having sat for a while or being cold. The manual says don't try to start the engine when it's engaged, but it's just there to kind of break things loose and get things free, and then you flip it back down to where it's got full compression, and then you start the engine. Let's check the fuel. I haven't even looked in here yet. Well, the fuel tank actually looks pretty good. I don't see any sludge or corrosion or rust or anything in there. Well, this fuel looks fantastic. It's clear, it looks really good. And there's several gallons in there. This is a big tank. It's very deep. So now as far as the battery goes, this is a 12-volt system, and it was originally a 12-volt system also, right from the factory. I believe originally these tractors had 2 12-volt batteries side by side. So instead of long ways like this, they were flipped sideways, 2 side by side and hooked together. I don't think that's necessary anymore. Today's batteries are pretty darn good, pretty strong, but we'll find out. And also a quick shout out to my friend Doug. He gave me a little bit of education on this tractor before I even started this video, so I wouldn't sound like a complete idiot. he's had some experience with a Fordson Major in the past. So that was really helpful to me because I was able to identify some of the things and understand the tractor a little bit better and how it works. This is the air intake oil bath, you know, filter canister, and it comes up and goes down into the engine right there on the other side. In fact, let's go around and take a look at this side. So we got our generator here. Again, is one fan belt, and it's old and dry. This is our air intake manifold, and this is our exhaust manifold, of course. Comes out to the exhaust stack up there. And I showed you earlier briefly, but this is the starter engage. You push this lever all the way down, and it actuates this rod and pushes that button right there and engages the starter. The only problem that we have right at the moment is the ignition switch is inoperable. It's completely fried. So the previous owner did get it started for me twice. He started it when I went to look at it, and then he started it a week later when I picked it up, and we were able to just drive it onto the trailer. So what he had to do is just jump these two posts right here on the solenoid with a screwdriver while pushing this lever down to engage the starter. So that's what we're gonna try also. Now, just because I've never owned a diesel before doesn't mean that I don't understand how they work. I feel like I do understand how they work. It's the limited experience I have with diesels on other people's tractors and vehicles and such is that they've all had glow plugs, you know, to assist the starting procedure, to get the combustion chambers warm. But this engine does not have glow plugs at all. I've done a little bit of research, and they say that these tractors are known for their ease of starting. For whatever reason, they were engineered very well, and they don't need glow plugs, even when it's cold outside. Now, like I said before, in the manual, it says if it's extremely cold outside, then you might have to fiddle with the compression release and crank the motor by hand and do that. But there's also this deal right here that you push in. That is essentially kind of like what a choke would do. You're just adding more fuel to the mixture for startup. And then once the engine fires, the mechanism kicks itself back out, and then it regulates the fuel again like normal. Besides that, there is no traditional choke, right? Because there is no carburetor, there is no intake butterfly. So adding a little bit extra fuel is all you can do. I'm going to try to start it in just a second, but I wanted to mention compression just for a second. If this were a 4-cylinder gas engine of this size, the compression might be, I don't know, 135-ish on an old tractor like this. But on this diesel engine, the compression supposedly is somewhere between 300 and 400 psi, sometimes even closer to the high end of that, closer to 400. And that's how diesel engines operate, by compression and heat. Anyway, enough talking for now. Let's try to start this thing, and if it starts up, we'll try to drive it and see if the gears work and the clutch works. I know they work to some extent, like I said, because the guy drove it onto my trailer for me, but we'll find out. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. The kill wire for the engine, because there's no spark, the only way to stop this diesel engine is to cut off the fuel to it, which is this lever right here, and the wire is not working up on the dash. So the way you have to stop this engine is come around here and literally do that with your hand to stop it. So that's what we'll do if it runs. Man, that sure started quickly, didn't it? Good morning, everybody. About 5 days have passed since we got the engine running. Now, before we do anything else, I want to talk about the serial number and casting dates on this tractor. The previous owner gave me a piece of paper with a written serial number on it, which corresponds to 1955. So I've been calling it a 1955. Now, I think usually the serial number tag would be right here, be a rectangle about that size. In fact, you can see kind of a outline of where it used to be, and there's 2 holes right there, but it's missing, unfortunately, so we have to go by something else. I looked here. This is the front of the engine block in front of the injector pump, and there's a flat surface here that looks like it should be a perfect place for a serial number, but there's nothing there. And yes, I cleaned it and took a wire brush to it, but there's no numbers there. So that's too bad. I started looking around for casting dates on the engine, and I haven't yet found a casting date on the engine. But what I did find is a casting date back here over the transmission, and it says H7X. And again, thanks to my friend Doug, I was able to look that up looking at another guy's video. And H7X is June the 7th of 1955. So besides what the previous owner told me, this is the first bit of concrete evidence of what year this tractor might be. Well, it didn't take much effort to uncover some blue paint that's still on there. So if it warrants it, I might just do a full pressure wash on this tractor and see what all we can get off. I tested another spot here so you can see what I'm talking about. You know, rust and dirt coloration above and below it, but lots of blue paint still underneath. And it also revealed the letters ENFO. Stands for English Ford, I think. And then I just quickly did another spot here on the frame rail, so you can tell the difference, obviously looking forward and then coming back to this. But that is way down the list of priorities. We got too many other more important things to do. Anyway, it's too bad the serial number tag is missing, but I feel confident enough now that we found that casting date on the transmission housing. We can go ahead and call this a 1955. So when I was driving it, I was hearing, I wouldn't say a lot, but there was some gear noise coming from the transmission or the rear end or both. And I know that's pretty common on these old tractors of this era. Most of them had straight cut gears, and it was perfectly normal for them to have a little whine. So that could be perfectly normal, or we could be low on oil, and that's what we're going to check right now. I've already cracked this loose with a wrench. This is the transmission fill plug and also the transmission check plug. Right here on the casting it says full and low. So basically you just look inside the hole here and judge where the level of the transmission oil is. Basically it just needs to be full all the way up to right below the bottom of the inside of the lift there. And look what we found here. We have found no oil in here. So that is not good. I don't know what to think about that right off the bat. Usually that means that there's a significant leak somewhere on the bottom of the tractor and all the oil has leaked out, because this stuff doesn't evaporate, you know, it just stays in there. And right here is a dipstick that checks the oil level of the rear end slant hydraulics. Can you see that on the camera? There's just a little bit of oil on the tip. This is the full mark right here where my thumbnail is, And you can see we just got a little bit on the tip way down there. Now the oil that's there doesn't look terrible. It's not milkshake looking, so that is good news, I guess. But why are the transmission and rear end housings both empty? I guess the next step is to crawl under the tractor and take a look at the drain plugs, and you know, gosh, I hope we don't find anything cracked down there. So here's one drain plug that I found, and the fact that it's completely dry around the drain plug means that I'm not even going to mess with that. We're going to move backwards a little bit and see if we can find some wet areas. So we're moving backwards now, and I did find some wet stuff. You see all that right there? I followed the trail up here, and it looks like the leak is coming from the brake pedal, you know, the seal in there, whatever's in there where it mates to the housing. So again, in the grand scheme of things, I think that is good news, because that's something that we can probably fix. We're gonna try to get the running board off here so we can actually see what we're doing, get a better look at it. There, finally. All right, after a little bit of cleanup, there's what we got. You can see there's even been some new leakage come out since we've been working on it. Anyway, I think this is going to be a showstopper for this video, because we can't run the tractor until we get fluid in the transmission and the rear end. We can't put fluid in it until we fix that leak, and I can't fix the leak until I find a seal. So we're going to stop what we're doing in the meantime, but I'm going to start the tractor up one more time just to hear it run. And I'm also going to see if the charging system is working. I don't know, what do you guys think? 50-50 chance? Less than that? Well, one of the biggest wins we had in this video is that this rear tire is holding air now after I put that fix-a-flat in it. I am kind of in disbelief, but I actually checked it with the gauge and it hasn't gone down at all in 5 days. So we might have dodged a bullet there. Yes, the tire is still cracked, but if it holds air, we can run it around, no problem. The engine seems to run pretty well, sure starts easily. The wiring is a disaster. The gauges are a disaster. We have this leak that we have to deal with and try to fix before we can put fluid in the rear half of the tractor. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, but I kind of like it. It's a Fordson after all. That's the biggest reason I bought it. You just don't see these come up for sale. We've got some kind of a rattling noise. It's more of like a dry grinding noise, kind of like we had on that John Deere B from the generator. You guys remember that? And it sounds just like that. So I wonder if this generator is you know, kind of rusted and corroded on the inside, just like that other one was. This is going to be a longer video series than the last few have been. So we need to start ordering some parts for this tractor. We're just going to fix things in the order of importance, what we need to do first. And if everything goes well with the mechanical repairs and restoration, I think I'm going to paint this one as well. We're just hitting the tip of the iceberg right now. There's going to be a lot more to come So if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing that. I would appreciate it. In the meantime, I'll sign off, say so long for now, and we'll see you on the next video.